Clarence Hill of Fort Worth Star Telegram. Welcoming you back to another edition of Cowboys Overtime. Mac Engel is not here. That's not Mac Engel. That's not Stephen Johnson. That's my man Teron Davenport of ESPN that covers the Titans, who's sitting in and going to join us today as our guest on the show. Thank you for coming in, Teron. Appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you having me on, man. Talk a little shop, do what we do.
And, I want to thank Teron for showing me a good time last night on the streets of Nashville. We smoked a cigar and chopped it up and, had a bourbon or two and just broke down the football game last night. We're going to break down today. But, again, this show is sponsored by Windows Nation. Thank you, Windows Nation, for taking care of us and sponsoring us all season. Let's just get right down to it, Teron. This is Cowboys Titans tonight. Supposed to be a special game, Thursday Night Football. It's turned into a glorified preseason game. Why is that? Why are the Titans not trying to play to win tonight?
Yeah, really, it comes down to next week against Jacksonville because they had a 5-game losing streak. At one point, this was a team that was guaranteed, 93% chance of winning the AFC South. It's changed because during their 5-game losing streak, Jacksonville has won 3 in a row, including one here in Nashville over the Titans. So this is a banged-up team. They've rostered 82 different guys. The record is 91 in a season, which was set by the Titans last year. So they're trying to give guys like Jeffrey Simmons rest. You got Danico Autry, who's listed as doubtful. He has a new injury, a biceps injury. You got Derrick Henry listed as doubtful, new injury with a hip injury. So they're trying to roll everybody into next week, full tilt, ready to go. And so it's almost, like you said, a preseason game this week. And they're already banged up as it was. So now you add in the amount of guys that they're resting, and it's a bad situation.
Yeah, it's crazy. Why, I guess from the numbers standpoint, win or lose, it doesn't matter. It's all about next week, based on it. Because even if they lose, win, it has no bearing on the division title showdown against Jacksonville.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's really what it boils down to. My thing is, I think they should play the guys. And I understand you're trying to field a healthy team next week, but that locker room doesn't have the same juice and energy as it did when they were 7-3. And Mike Vrabel prides himself on not having a group of front runners, but let's face the facts. When you have a 5-game losing streak and then you're able to break that with the win, that develops momentum. That builds energy. So I think personally they should go out there and put their best foot forward, but they're not with all the guys they're resting.
Yeah, and just on the flip side, you're talking about two teams going into this game, this primetime game with differing agendas. This is a Cowboys team that still has a chance, still had hopes to chase down the Philadelphia Eagles for the NFC East title. That's their focus. That's their motivation. The Cowboys need to win their final 2 games, and hope the Eagles lose their final 2 games. See if they can, chase down the Eagles for the NFC East title. But that's what's on the table now for the Cowboys. The question is this realistic? Can the Cowboys, have a realistic shot of beating the Eagles based on what's going on in Philadelphia and based on what's going on in Dallas? But first things first for the Cowboys, to make it happen, they have to beat the Titans.
Yeah, I think, beating the Titans is something they don't really have to be concerned with. They should do that. Now, next week will be an interesting game. I don't know, like head-to-head, you go Cowboys and Eagles. I think the Eagles still win. And you look at the last game, although they turned the football over a bunch of times, they still put up 27 points because you had the 7 on the pick 6 with Gardner Minshew as the quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts makes that much of a difference, and they would beat the Cowboys head to head.
Well, the question is how the Eagles are going to approach these final 2 games, and whether they going to sweep them. They just need one win. Eagles win 1 game, the NFC's champions, and they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But they play a Saints team on Sunday, that's vying, still in the hunt for the NFC South title. They don't have Jalen Hurts, and they won't have Lane Johnson, and they without Avonte Maddox. So they have some injuries they have to negotiate, and I don't think they're putting up 34 points against the Saints that they put up against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think no Lane Johnson is a sneaky, huge loss for them. I was there in 2018 when he missed 8 games, and they went, I think it was like 2-6 when he had the suspension. He's a huge part of what they want to do. They pride themselves on having those bookends, and that gives Jalen Hurts the time to do what he has to do as far as working through his progressions. And if it's not there, going. So not having him has been big. Like they've managed to get around Avonte Maddox not playing. He's a nickel corner. He's solid, but they've been able to make up for that. And obviously Jalen Hurts with the shoulder, you want to give that as much time as possible. But you also have to remember if he doesn't play in these 2 games and they are able to win one of those 2 and they clinch the top seed, you get the bye, it's going to be 34 days of rest.
Right.
Playoffs are a different ball game. You can't come out rusty, especially when you're at the top seed because teams are gunning for you. You can't come out rusty. So I think it's important that Jalen Hurts plays at least one of these next 2 games.
And I know you said you felt the Eagles were better than the Cowboys, were fully healthy. But what's the outside view of this Cowboys team? They're 11-4. This is the first time they've won, had back-to-back 11-win seasons since 1995, 1996. First time they've had the same coaches taking to the playoffs in back-to-back years since 1995, 1996. They did it in 2006, 2007. This first time since 2006, 2007, they've been in the playoffs in back-to-back years. But that's with Bill Parcells and Wade Phillips. So by all intents and purposes, you're 11-4. There's a chance they can win 12 games this season. And people question them, question whether they are legitimate Super Bowl contender. What's your take on this team?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the Cowboys are like the least appreciated good team in the league. And it's just one of those things where you ran off some playoff numbers and stuff like that. No one really believes in Dallas in the playoffs. That's the big problem. Their playoff history it's just not, it hasn't been good. So that's where the lack of confidence lies. And I think Dak Prescott is a guy, I mean, you talk about these quarterbacks, and you talk about top 5, top 10. He's right there, excuse me. He's a guy that, I think deserves to be mentioned, as one of the top play callers, but he's just, everything he does is so heavily scrutinized and criticized. And that's the way I look at it. And it's just, this is a team that has so much excellence in the past where it's almost easy for people to not like them. And that's really, it's like how people look at the Yankees, how they look at the Lakers when they were good. That's really what it boils down to. But I think Dallas is a solid team. I mean, you look at, so many players at every level of the defense. They have playmakers there. Offensively, you have the double-headed monster there with Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott. You have Dalton Schultz, a guy who, last year had a really good year. He's so this year, but he's still a dangerous pass catcher. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb. I mean, there's a lot of guys on this team, that I think are outstanding players. And there's stories that I think that are underrated, right? You look at the way Zeke has kind of just like taken that step aside and allowed Tony Pollard to come in. A lot of times veteran guys, they're not having that. There's going to be a beef, right? But the biggest thing to me is Tyron Smith flipping from left to right tackle. So the first round pick, Tyler Smith, could go in and play left. Like those are on different teams, like those are bigger stories, but it's just there's a natural hate that people have for the Cowboys.
Yeah, there's so many stories with Jerry, with Dak. There's always something going on. These stories they're talking about, which are crucial and key, get played down. We're going to get back into Dak Prescott. We got some interesting, I want to pick your brain on the overall feeling of Dak Prescott. But first, we got to pay some bills and with our friends from Window Nation.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, can help you fill the house this season with savings. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and make no payments and pay no interest until 2025. Fill your house for a customized authentic Dallas Cowboys jersey while supplies last. You could even help fill the Cowboys house and win tickets to a game. Visit windownation.com/Cowboys now for details. Call 866-95-NATION. Window Nation, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Thank you, Window Nation. Get your window there. Jerry Jones needs window tinting at his AT&T Stadium. I know you saw that game last week. Michael Gallup lost a pass in the sun. He won't tint the stadium. He said this out there for both teams. Jerry Jones does not want to admit that they made a mistake and how they built that stadium, the way it's designed, that it's a problem for the Cowboys and other teams. But it seems like it's hurt the Cowboys more than most, with that sun in players' eyes. They need window tint. Window Nation, your proud partner. Get over to AT&T Stadium and put some tint on those windows. Getting back to Dak Prescott for a minute. He's gotten a lot of attention for the interception. He's thrown a lot of picks since he's been back. Right. But what's also true is this Cowboys team has scored more than any other team in the league since he's been back. They have been better on third down than any team in the league since he's been back. They have also have total more yards of offense than any team in the league since he's been back. Interceptions aside, you look at the way he's played the last 2 weeks, over 76% completion percentage in both games. Last week against the Eagles, he was 24 against his own coverage. He's seeing the field as well as any quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah, he really is. And you had the focus on interceptions, but I challenge those who do that to go in and watch the game. There's a series of them that's receiver error. He's had at least 2, 3 that bounced off a receiver. So if I throw the ball and it hits you right in the hands and bounces off and gets intercepted, yeah, it's a bad stat on me. But again, look at the games. But it goes back to, there's just a rush to be overly critical of a guy like Prescott. But I feel that he's played excellent football. And he's someone, just when you talk to the defenders that have to go against him, there's a different mindset. Like there's certain guys, Dak, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. Those are 3 like off the top that I remember talking to defensive players in the Titans locker room. They're like, hey, we got to play a little bit different. We got to be very smart rushing the passer. We have to make sure we don't give him that rushing lane. We have to make sure that, we get to him, we wrap up because he's a big quarterback and he's able to shake it off and throw the ball down the field. I think when you look at the way Prescott has played, Dak has led that offense to a level of excellence that I think can go toe-to-toe with any team in the league. So that's how I feel about Prescott and what he's able to do. I like that he could, make plays from the pocket. He throws the ball down the field. One of the things that I like more than anything is how they've started to use their backs out of the backfield. I love the way they use Tony Pollard. I actually have a segment that I do on ESPN.com called Whiteboard Wednesday, and I broke down a way that they have Tony Pollard coming out of the backfield. You got a man matchup against a linebacker, he wins that, but you also have zone because of the route combo that they have. They're able to beat both. And, those are the type of things that makes the Dak Prescott able to go 24 for 24 against zone coverage. A good example, you go back to the Vikings game. Pollard had a 68-yard touchdown on a wheel route down the field. They had Dalton Schultz run a route like this to clear it out. And it's just Pollard and the linebacker one-on-one. He beat 58 easily over the shoulder touchdown. Then later they swung him to the opposite side where the trips were, and it was a 30-yard touchdown. So those are the things I like. He's willing to take that check down if need be, and he'll, make plays with it.
Yeah, and you bring up that play, and people talk about accuracy. That was a dime, and he's thrown a few dimes. He can spin it as well as any quarterback in the league. He doesn't have the Herbert arm, but he certainly has enough arm to get it there. Like last week against the Eagles, 3rd and 30, he threw that laser, to T.Y. Hilton, for the 52-yard gain. The thing that I like about Dak, and which most people should like about quarterbacks, is that when he makes a mistake, when he has a turnover, how does he respond? And if you look at every one of those interceptions, whether it was his fault or not, he's responded by leading his team to a touchdown, usually lead his team back and put his team back in the league. We could talk all day till we're blue in the face about whether he's top 5, top 10, where he fits. What you can't question is his mental toughness and his heart and all the other stuff, his leadership and what he does for this team. And, we've seen quarterbacks all over the league and how they handle things, how they can go in a tank, they can let 1 interception turn to 2 interceptions, turn to 3 interceptions. They can let it affect their play and what they do in the locker room. But that's not Dak Prescott.
Yeah, and this is just me just kind of shooting from half court here. But, you read his story and you learn about the stuff that he went through. Losing his brother there's this thing called perspective that he seems to have. And so when you have that type of perspective off the field and go through the things that he went through, it's like when you're on the field, you're not about to present me with something that's more adverse than what I've been through off the field. So I think that's a big thing for him.
Yeah, Dion said this ain't pressure. Pressure is losing his mom. He lost his mom, to cancer when he was in college. He lost his brother to suicide. He's acknowledged he's had mental health, challenges himself, a battle with depression, during the pandemic. That's pressure. Those are real issues. What happened in the game is not the same. And again, Dak Prescott has shown that mental fortitude, to battle back from so-called setbacks on the field and lead this team. And you just look at the numbers and, he's, again, playing as well as any quarterback in the league. You talk about, the concerns about the Cowboys going forward, concerned about the Cowboys in the playoffs. People always point to Dak Prescott. Can he do it? Look at his playoff numbers. He dueled, Aaron Rodgers as a rookie. He beat prime Russell Wilson in Seattle as a rookie. When they've lost those playoff games, it's generally because the defense has let them down. And as we move forward to the season, and really what the Cowboys, they're trying to get back to the Super Bowl for the first time, since 1995. Early in the season, we thought this year was going to be different. This is why this year's going to be different. They really have a chance this year because this is a defensive-led football team.
Yeah.
Defensive one of the top units in the league. They were second in quarterback like nobody's business. Michael Parsons was a leading candidate for NFL Defensive Player of the Year. At current state, we're back to the Romo Cowboys, Dak Prescott Cowboys, where it's led by the offense. You got to score 40 points a game, and the defense ain't stopping the nosebleed. One thing the defense is doing is they're turning the ball over. The league in turnovers. They had 4 last week. That ain't no fluke. They took those balls away. But there are concerns about this defense. You cannot continue to give up 30 and 40 points a game and hope to survive in the playoffs. You cannot continue to get gashed on the ground and hope to survive in the playoffs. What are you seeing from this Cowboys defense that should be concerning?
Yeah, I think they have to get back to being able to rush the passer and get after the quarterback. You mentioned Michael Parsons. DeMarcus Lawrence is the guy who's consistently been one of the top pass rushers. They need to get back to that because here's the thing. Trevon Diggs he's an outstanding corner, but if you're able to double move him, like have the time to double move him, you're going to beat him. And that's something, it's the gift and the curse. When you have a guy that's a ball hawk, a guy that, likes to take chances, you're going to pay at times. But when you're getting after the quarterback up front, you don't have time to do that. Those out and ups and stutter and goes and those type of things. So that's what I look at. There's been, stopping the run, as you mentioned earlier, has been a bit of an issue. So they have to be able to do that because you face a 49ers team, you better be able to stop the run. You know what I mean? And then in addition to that, all the other stuff that they do. So that's really the key for me. I don't know, what the deal with Van Der Esch is. I'm imagining, with him being out this week and it's a neck, I would imagine his outlook is kind of tough over the next couple of days. But
he should be back
in there and his instincts would help as well.
Yeah, he should be back for the playoffs. They're also counting on Jonathan Hankins, big defensive tackle, nose tackle, who's been the anchor of their run defense, to be back for the playoffs. But yeah, they have to short it up. You mentioned Trevon Diggs, but I'm not Trevon Diggs, but it's the other side that's even more concerning because you lost your other two corners out for the season, Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis. You're playing a rookie, at slot who's been.
He's good. 26 is good. I like him a lot. He's feisty. He's sticky.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah. Deron Bland, he's really good.
Yeah.
But it's the other corner that, you have to worry about. People are targeting the other quarterback spot for plays. Nashon Wright is handling it right now. They tried Kelvin Joseph. He was a failure. They switched to Nashon Wright, but they're going to be tested on that side of the ball. So they have to stop the run, and then they have to get the quarterback to protect those corners. But yeah, those are going to be issues. No matter who they play in the playoffs, you talk about you giving up 350 yards to Gardner Minshew at quarterback. What is Jalen Hurts going to do? What are other quarterbacks going to do if you're giving that kind of yardage up? And everybody keeps talking about whether they have to face Tampa Bay. What if they have to face Carolina? What if Carolina beats Tampa Bay, and that Carolina rushing game rushed for 300 yards last week against Detroit? You don't really want to face that Carolina rushing game with that defense in the playoffs. So now this defense is going to have to bow up. They're going to have to try to find a way to bow up and man up and really hold down the fort if the Cowboys are truly going to make this season special. It's not, Mike McCarthy was not, yes, he's done great. Okay. If you look at his numbers and getting them to the playoffs in back-to-back years and these double-digit 10-win seasons, but he was brought here not just to get the Cowboys to the playoffs. He was brought here to get the Cowboys to the Super Bowl, get them back to the NFC Championship game. They need to make a deep run. And he said that one key to making deep runs is getting comfortable being in the playoffs in back-to-back years. Well, they've done that. What are they going to do now?
Yeah, that's the thing. I just if I'm a Cowboys fan, I don't want to see the 49ers. I don't want to see the Eagles. You mentioned some of the other teams, the Panthers, and you're right. But, the 49ers and the Eagles, those are two tested teams. And I don't want to see them. They run the football too well. They could put up a whole lot of points. And, defensively, let's talk about DeMeco Ryans and how he should be a head coach next year. 49ers are the truth, and so are the Eagles. So those would be tough matchups.
Well, as there's that old church song said, nobody ever said the road would be easy. Okay,
right.
If you're gonna win a title, you got to go. That's what you got to do. That's the task, and most likely you have to do it on the road. So hey, if they don't put layups in the playoffs. There's no layups, okay? So whether it's the Eagles, whether it's the 49ers, whether it's the first round, second round championship game, to get where they want to go, they got to go through those two teams. Tonight, Titans, Cowboys, I pick Cowboys 30-10. I don't even know if the Titans are going to get 10 points. I don't know. I don't know what Malik Willis looks like and what they're going to do, especially, without Big King Henry not playing. What are you picking for the game tonight?
Yeah, Malik Willis is a work in progress. This would be his fourth start, if I'm not mistaken. I can't see them scoring. I'm going like 30-7. I think it's going to be ugly. This team struggled in their 5-game losing streak. They scored over 20 points once, and that's with pretty much everybody out there. You take Derrick Henry out of the picture, yeah, it's going to be bad. 30-7.
It's going to be 37. It's going to be bad. Well, you're right with Vegas. Vegas has the over-under at 40. So, not that we're gambling here, but I'm just saying Vegas got the over-under at 40. You got 30-7. I had 30-10. We're going to see what's going to happen here. But, hey, man, I appreciate it. We'll have a good time at the game tonight. But thank you for coming on and joining us on our Cowboys Overtime. And thank you, Window Nations.